So the Mariners lost 2 out of 3 this weekend to Toronto. And yesterday, I would imagine, stung a little bit more than the others when you have, I believe, the bases loaded with 1 out in the bottom of the 10th inning, down by 1.
Do you want to know how many runners they left on base?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Do you want to know?
Is it a bad number? It's got to be a bad number.
It's so high. I'll let you guess. Guess the number.
All right, so 5-4 was the final in 10 innings.
Yep.
They left 3 on in the 10th inning. I know they had the bases loaded because I looked on my ESPN app. Again, Root's got to get on YouTube TV. Blazers, figure it out. I'm waiting. It's July 8th. I want to watch your games next year. Do you care about your fans or not? I saw on the ESPN app, bases loaded, 1 out, and then I thought they were going to win, and I closed the app and then saw tweets with Mariner fans being pissed. With those 3 and the others, I'll say 12. Give me 12.
Yeah, let's double that and then add 6. 30 runners left on base in that game.
Oh, my God.
30.
How is that even possible?
Well, the Mariners just find a way to do it. They are on a historic pace right now, Dirk. To strike out, their strikeout percentage,
it's so bad, man.
They're going to set a record for worst strikeout percentage
it's so bad.
ever.
It's
28%. Every fourth batter strikes out. Over.
At least the Astros lost back. They lost 2 out of 3, I think, to Minnesota this weekend. So the division lead's still at 2. You're
still at 2. It was
still hanging
10
on.
less than a month ago.
That is true.
10.
That is true. 10 is a larger number than 2. Look, I don't want to be that guy, but I am going to be that guy. I told you so. I have been preaching this all year long. That if you just can't keep winning 1-run games with good pitching and think that's going to hold up throughout the course of 162 games with 2 guys in your lineup hitting over 220. You cannot survive. I don't care how good your pitching is. You cannot survive for an entire season. I saw somebody with a take this weekend that argued their offense is so bad that they should sell at the deadline.
No, there's legit conversations.
Do we buy or sell this?
Mariners Twitter.
Dude,
and
there should be no debate. You have prospects. Trade them for bats. Try and win now.
Anybody. Well, to add insult to injury, you wouldn't pay Teoscar Hernandez because he struck out too much.
I know.
You let him walk to the Dodgers. He's now an all-star, which you don't have a single player in the field who is an all-star.
Yeah.
And you strike out more.
Yeah. And, Jared, I didn't realize this because the way that I view baseball is through who my team is playing. And then when my team plays that team, I'm like, hey, that guy's, hey, look at that.
He's doing okay. Better this year.
I had that this weekend, or I guess late last week, with Jared Kelenic because the Giants were in Atlanta. They took 2 out of 3 from the Braves. That's why Sprague didn't show up today. Bitch, he had to hide, scared of my Giants.
Deal with it.
Kelenic's having a decent year.
He's
hitting 272. He's playing great center field. He chased down a couple of balls. I'm like, damn, I didn't realize he was that good of a defender.
I believe his numbers are comparable to Julio's, if not slightly and better. And don't get me wrong, Julio's still your guy. You got to love Julio. And you got to figure that he'll turn it around after the first 2 years that he showed.
Yeah.
But I'd like to irrationally blame something. If we find out that he got dumped in the next 2 weeks, then I'll be like, yes, finally, it was her.
It was her.
I knew it. It wasn't him. It was her.
She did this to him.
I need a scandal to come out Julio's uncle stole a bunch of money from him. It can't just be Julio's fault. And it's getting more and more like it is just Julio's fault.
I feel so bad for that guy, man. It's such a tough spot to be in. He has no help in the lineup. The expectations that were placed upon his shoulders at the age of 23 were go be the next Ken Griffey Jr. I'm not saying he's been perfect. I know I have defended him a lot, and I've even had Mariner fans come at me he can't strike out in the 9th inning, and that's blah blah. That's okay. I get it. He needs to be better. I'm not arguing he's an all-star this year. He's not having a very good year. I think what Kelenic has shown, the Braves offense has been a little sluggish lately. Couple things. One, it's hard to hit in Seattle, right? The weather, it's just not. It's
Marine
not
layer,
right. It's not a hitter's ballpark like it is in other places. Kelenic, I think part of it for him has been fresh starts can be very helpful for some guys. You just get out of a spot where you were that guy. He was their number 1 prospect when they called him up. He was a bigger deal than Julio.
Yes.
And then Julio ended up being the better player. But at first, Kelenic was your guy. He was the dude you were going to build your team around. And it doesn't happen right away. And then again, that pressure builds and it builds and it builds. You go to a new place in Atlanta where you're just kind of like, all right, let's see what Kelenic can do. There's zero expectations. He's playing loose and free. He's having a good year. But it's also an example of what having help in a lineup can do for you and having other good bats around you can do for you. And Kelenic's having a good year. So that one stings. I did see the Mariners loss. I will maintain, be aggressive, trade all your not all your prospects, but you get my point. Be aggressive at the deadline here in a couple of weeks. Because a couple of bats with that pitching staff added with Julio, you got a legitimate chance. That division is terrible. It's the worst division arguably in baseball, and you got a strong argument to be made that you can win it and get home field advantage in the playoffs. Like those are big things, and so they're a couple of bats away. I hope they're aggressive, but again, an example this weekend, stranding that many runners is not
in
not
one
good.
game, not a whole series, a game.
I don't know how Mariner fan does it. I don't know. Like the Giants' offense sucks, and I have to suffer through them. The Giants, I thought their offense was. They've scored 52 more runs than the Mariners this year.
Yeah, I think the Mariners' run differential is like 2.
It's down to 4. We're at
Good.
4 right now.
Well, that's higher than I thought.
At least it's not a negative number, and you're over 500. That's when you should be concerned. Well, not that 4 isn't great, but at least you're still in plus territory.
Hey, look,
you're in the green.
We're frauds. I get it. We're frauds. I'm fully able to admit that the Mariners are fraudulent. And if they make it to the playoffs, they will not do well. We're frauds.
This offense is not going to do anything if you can't do things in the regular season against the Blue Jays, you're not going to do anything in the postseason. So go get some bats. We'll see if they do it. Another tough weekend. But you're not the only ones. We'll get to the Yankees a little bit later on.